What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 534 of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast Hot Tags of the Week. We're going to break down some of the current events and other things that are happening in the world of pro wrestling this week that we feel like talking about on the rumors and the news and the gossip and the people leaving the companies and people joining the companies and so on and so forth side of things. I'm Tony Mango. I've got Robert DeFelice with me.
Howdy, Tony. How you doing today?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It's another week, and we're one step closer to WrestleMania.
We are, that graphic's going to pop up, and it's just going to be playing a weekend song, and it's going to say just one step closer to WrestleMania. You know, every year WrestleMania has a couple songs, and almost inevitably I end up downloading them all. They've been doing The Weeknd for these past 2-3 years or so, and
3 years, yeah.
And he's got such great music that I usually end up just immediately liking the song anyway. It's not like it needs to take its time to kind of like wear me down like some other years are. So anytime that pops on my screen now and it's just like, I don't want to sacrifice or whatever the songs are, like, you know, they're running in that particular thing, I'm always just kind of like, fuck yeah, all right, I like these 20 seconds that we're gonna have here.
Yeah, and you know, good for them. The Weeknd seems to be like one that they've actually caught on to while he's legitimately popular. It's not like, you know, running a Kid Rock in 2015 or something.
Right, yeah. Like, you know, do those kids use that phrase, great balls of fire anymore? Like, you know.
That's a weird thing that I want a story on. Like,
it had
why
to be
great
Vince.
balls of fire?
It had to 100% be Vince McMahon. I'm not going to believe anything other than that until there's some sort of report out there that it was like, I don't know, somebody messing with Vince and thinking that he would like it, and then he actually does like it or something. It had to be, oh, you know, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. This is such a good name that we could use for whatever. It's hot. It's, you know, it's got this edge, that kind of thing. You know, so glad they only did that one stupid pay-per-view.
Well, I think after the logo became a literal penis, like they couldn't continue doing it.
There's like 3 different logos that they had for that. What an awful mess. Ugh, that's in the past, thankfully. But, you know, we got our usual thing here going on. We are going to run down these hot tags. We want to know what you have to think and what have to say about this kind of stuff. So drop your thoughts in the comments below and keep the discussion going and all that. While you're over there, of course, make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and also ring that little notification bell. Get that email alert notification thing set up because on Sunday, we are doing that live watch along of WrestleMania 21. So if you want to know when we go live for that or any of the post shows like the upcoming AEW Revolution one, then that will give you that email. You'll be able to know, hey, okay, look, they're going live now. And we'll give you, of course, the countdown when we actually start doing it and all that. We're not going to go live and immediately have started or anything. But, you know, that way you know that we are actually live for that. Also hit the like button. That'll help us out quite a bit. Just to get some other plugs out of the way, remember that WrestleMania 21 watch along was sponsored through a donation on the Pick Your Poison tier on the YouTube members only platform. And that's the same exact thing as the Patreon. So if you like one more than the other one, you can sign up for the one or the other one. Same deal. You get the same dark casts. You get the same access to the same things. But that Pick Your Poison tier is a great way to make sure that we do any kind of particular content you want, either on the editorial side or on the podcast side. So, you know, if you got the spare change, you want to toss it our way, it's a great way to do it. It's also the TeePublic and Redbubble shops that you can pick up the merchandise. And there's the little tip jar button here on the underneath the video. I guess the best way for us to start this is to go with the one thing that's like the most outlier of everything, which is control your narrative. The supposed direction for this, according to somebody who posted something up on Reddit, if I'm remembering correctly, it seems like what they're going for, if this is true, it might not be, is control your narrative is very much leaning towards that. I mean, look at the name of it, control your narrative. And they've really been doing this whole, like, we got released from WWE, but we are storytellers and we're going to show you that we can tell the story that we want to tell and that kind of thing. It kind of seems like it's trying to build itself as being the rebellious brand in more ways than one, with a little bit of a more political leaning aspect than I was expecting.
So I don't think that it was like actually going to be that. I think because of the talent that they're signing,
it's just naturally going in that direction.
People are getting that vibe, and I think they could end up shifting it to that because people will just naturally do it. But I hope not, honestly. Like, Control Your Narrative as it is a very niche product, and I wouldn't want to see it get bogged down in like political stuff when it isn't necessarily even trying to go there. You know, I have no interest. And honestly, I feel like after some of the announcements, namely Austin Aries, you know, there's a lot of people who might just say, yeah, I like EC3, I like Killer Cross, I might even miss Braun Strowman, but like, I'll skip it, you know?
Yeah, I said before, I don't really think that I would be watching CYN all that much, just because the presentation of it doesn't seem like it would really be too much worth my time. I like the idea of something that's a different approach, but there's so much wrestling, and you know full well that how many times do I just kind of shoot you a message and just go, I'm over wrestling, I don't want to do this kind of,
how many times do I shoot that message right
back, right? Yeah, it gets just like, and we mostly cover WWE and AEW, and then of course you tend to cover some more stuff out on the side too. You know, you watch some more New Japan stuff and more Impact Wrestling stuff, and you'll check out a GCW show. I don't have the patience for even that. I don't have the time for it. You know, I don't want to like, I'm not such an obsessed wrestling fan that I can do what a lot of people do. I guess not a lot, but I guess what people in that circle would do, which is give me all the content all the time. Oh, I'll watch, you know, I'll watch Main Event. I'll watch, I'll always put on another podcast or another show or another pay-per-view from the past or whatever. I can't do it. I need non-wrestling content, and Control Your Narrative wasn't going to approach itself to me in that kind of way that made me feel like I needed to check it out. But if it was going to, that's when it starts being really, really popular. And when you become a niche thing, that's really alienating half of the audience just by potentially bringing politics into it, you're cutting a big chunk of your market already. If they go in that direction, I can't imagine this is a successful promotion. I would assume it would be.
I can't imagine it's a successful. Well, like, here's the thing: there's varying degrees of success, you know, and everybody's got a platform now. So, what is success to you? Is what this thing is going to end up being. Because, like, you know, Effie's Big Gay Brunch does phenomenal and is a huge show every year now for WrestleMania weekend, and there are audiences that just zero in on what they want, but I can't imagine too many people being like, oh, this Control Your Narrative thing, man, this is best wrestling I've ever seen.
I mean, like, if they are hoping that this is the new ECW in a way, it's not going to reach that level.
Especially when, like, I think currently GCW is taking that and running with it. I think, you know, AEW has a little bit of the spirit of ECW. I think Control Your Narrative needs to be its own thing, and maybe they are. Maybe the live shows that we get wind up being more like miniature plays than like end match.
Right.
Because I'd be interested in like watching a show. Like, I watched Terminus, which is like super grappling heavy, and it's, you know, Jonathan Gresham's attempt at making his own promotion. Different strokes for different folks. I'm just saying, I don't think that CYN is going to be for a lot of people in the current wrestling space.
I mean, if you can carve yourself some chunk of the market, good for you. But everything I've been hearing so far from this potential spoiler the reaction to it has been pretty much, well, fuck that company, I'm not going to watch it, which is not at all what you want to hear, you know? You want to hear more like a groundswell of support and people going like, oh, this is so different and yeah, screw the establishment kind of thing. Not the, I guess, you know, a good way to put this would be, if you want to do a protest, you don't want to be like that. There's a couple of things that we've been seeing recently these past couple of months where it's like, there's going to be this big protest and it's going to whatever. And you see like two people sitting on those fold out chairs and they're all like, yeah, we're doing something. You know what I mean?
And I think, again, it's the world is so niche, right? Like everything is so, well, if I get my circle and there's a groundswell among us, we can really feel like we're going to take over the world. But you forget that, like, that is your circle. And maybe this works out for them. And I honestly would love for them to all find success. And I'd love for them to do something different. I want to see this become something that maybe it is a really unique take on wrestling that we can't look away from. Maybe they are going to tell stories in an interesting way. Or maybe it'll just be another wrestling show on Fight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm at least intrigued. And I'm not pulling my, interest away just yet. But I am curious to see how these shows come across.
In my ideal world, because I love to just merge things and keep things organized and all, I would have WWE, AEW, and then, quote unquote, the alternatives. In a sense of being like, all right, well, NWA, it's a part of AEW or a part of WWE. Or, actually, I'll put it this way. My grand scheme of things, this would never, ever, ever happen unless I became Supreme Chancellor of the Universe, which I hope is, knock, knock, hoping on tomorrow. You get WWE, you get AEW, you get the Indies, which is NWA. And every single indie federation is tied to the NWA in some fashion. And they changed that championship because I don't like it. And, of course, everybody goes nuts because then it's like, but that's the tradition. And it's like, I hate it. I don't like it. This is my fantasy. And then you get these little special shows and stuff. Impact and ROH and all them, they just get merged into AEW. The tape library things, they go where they need to go. And I don't think I need to have like a GCW necessarily be anything other than once in a while they do a show and it's part of this the Indies type of thing. And if the Control Your Narrative is a thing that's just once every couple months on Fight, okay, if you're interested, watch it. If not, then whatever. But if everything tries to be, we got a TV deal and we're going to try to take over and we're going to be this, then I'm like, all right, well, I'm not interested in the F tier calling itself the A show. Just putting it out there.
But I think, again, because somebody's F tier is now somebody's S tier, and it's never been so openly communicated before, that there's always going to be a market.
Yeah. Well, the main topics...
one of those guys that was scheduled for, or not scheduled for, but definitely seemed like he was headed the Control Your Narrative route, Drake Maverick, and I guess that's not happening.
Yeah, we're going to start getting into these stories here because this is kind of the bulk of what our topics are for this week. Drake Maverick has been rehired by WWE, but not as Drake Maverick the wrestler, as James Curtin, I think is his name. He is just going to be on the creative team. And you know what? When I read this, my first thought was just, oh, that's awesome. I love that. This guy wanted to work with WWE. He wanted to be a WWE star for his whole life. He got the job. He got fired. He got rehired again through NXT. He got fired again. And then I'm like, that's, I want people to succeed, especially if I like the person, obviously. And he seems like such a good dude and a genuine person. So I'm happy to hear about that. And it makes a lot of sense. WWE clearly didn't see him as somebody that they would want to invest in for a superstar. But he's a creative guy. He's had some interesting characters. He seems like he's got his mind wrapped around the business in some fashion. This might be the best thing for him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this move. I see a lot of people being like, again, but it's also like, dude's got a family to feed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Like, if he's happy, I'm so happy for him.
But realistically, the people that are against it, what do you expect? Like, everybody acts like everybody should be, and we're going to talk about a couple other people down the line on this podcast. Everybody thinks that everybody should just go somewhere else and get the main event push. It can't happen to everyone. Not everybody is going to win 3 world championships in their career. And if they do, it waters it all down. Certain people do not have that kind of run in them. And we've talked about plenty of people in the past that should, because some people just do get lost in the shuffle and they, how is Roddy Piper not a WWE champion kind of thing, But,
right.
As much as I used to like Al Snow, I never thought that Al Snow should have been like, you're being wasted and you need to go to another company and then WCW will give you the world championship. Maybe Al Snow's peak is like that mid-card level. And maybe they're okay with it. And maybe they're not okay with it. But maybe that's where, not everybody can even be an assistant manager at Walmart or whatever it is. Like, there's all different levels. And somebody like a Drake Maverick, he is on the smaller side. Unless you're in a company that has a dedicated cruiserweight division, it's not realistic to think that he is going to win the world championship. It could happen. It has happened with other people. Rey Mysterio has been a 3-time world champion. 3-time world champion?
Yes.
3-time. Yeah. He won the WWE title once.
Won the world title twice.
World title twice. Yeah. So that's, and you know what's fun about that is everybody goes, oh my God, the underdog, he did it. And it's because he's an underdog. Drake Maverick realistically was not going to reach that level in WWE. I think that he knows it too. But if he can be on the creative team, he can not only contribute to the company that he is such a big fan of, but he also has the ability to do stuff in the future. We've seen Fit Finlay be a part of the creative capacity and a producer and all that, and wrestle. We've seen Jamie Noble be a part of things. We've seen
that's always been a thing. Like when Briscoe used to be one of those agents that pulled people apart, and then all of a sudden he's a stooge one day.
Right. So it's like, who's to say that Drake Maverick, and we're going to just keep referring to him as Drake Maverick.
Like Pierce too.
Yeah.
He was hired on as an agent, I think. And then one day the pandemic happened. And it was like, Adam Pearce, you know how to talk into a microphone. And now he's a character on TV.
Yeah, he was running 205 Live, I think, for a while.
Him and Foley and Dewey Foley.
And then it's like he becomes one of the longer reigning general manager types that they've had in quite a while. I like the idea that Drake Maverick, which I just will refer to him as Drake Maverick all the time because it's just what I'm used to. I like that he at any time could potentially just pop up, whether he wants to do something with the 24/7 title again, which I think we are all well past the point of get rid of that fucking championship. Then if he wants to do something else, if they're hanging out backstage one day, think of it this way. Sonya Deville puts a suit in her bag, leaves it at the hotel, and mentions something about it. And Vince goes, go get your suit and walk in the hallway. And we get her as this general manager type character.
For nearly a year.
Basically a year. And that's her only story right now is that she's abusing that authority. That's just because she happened to own a suit. Imagine what a Drake Maverick can do if he's on the creative team and if he's talking about something and he's pitching something. He could end up being somebody's manager. He could end up being in a match with somebody. You don't know the possibilities. Yeah, more than likely he's not going to end up, fighting for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But was he going to do it anyway? And now he can feed his family. He can be a part of the creative process. I think this is a great thing.
He can book himself to win the cruiserweight, to win the 24/7 title, so he
could
sex with his wife.
Right? Maybe they could finally consummate it. But he could potentially pitch something for his wife. if he's got the little bit of a creative influence on there, he could just be like, look, we need somebody to come in and do this. I know a perfect person, Renee Michelle.
Yeah, I think it's nothing but a win, and like people have to realize it's a shitty realization, but like you do eventually grow up and realize like the dream, it doesn't happen for everyone, but it could also still happen in different ways. And I think that's what Maverick is going through right now. We're always going to call him Drake Maverick. That's that.
Right. Certain people they're not anything other than their name. Like, can you imagine anybody really going up to Shawn Michaels and being like, Mr. Hickenbottom, what do you think of it? No, it's not going to be the case. You're Shawn.
That's so weird. Like, I wonder if he's just like at the DMV, like, you can call my name. Yeah, I did. You're Hickenbottom. Oh yeah, that's right. That's me.
Yeah, like that story that Jeff Jarrett was talking about somewhat recently, where he was trying to get PCO's attention, and he was just like, "Hey, Pierre," and he wasn't realizing, and he's like, "Oh, you're talking about me." So Drake Maverick, that's one of the stories. He's back in WWE. Let's talk about somebody who's left WWE. Cesaro. This is the big story of the week.
This is the biggest story of the week.
We're going to tie it into some other things, but we might as well just go straight into it.
Cesaro is no longer in WWE. And what was your immediate reaction?
It's about time.
Was that before that you even knew that he didn't have a no compete? You were just like, okay, yeah.
I totally saw it coming. He was on my list of people that were going to be leaving last year. I actually thought that he was going to get released in the 2020 rounds. So when he didn't, and they did this whole push, and they, did this whole Seth Rollins match and whatnot, I was like, you know what? Maybe they actually thought twice about it. And every time that I've thought that maybe they think twice about something, they release a whole bunch of people. And we've gotten to the point now where that's slowed down considerably. Of course, we got the WrestleMania stuff coming up. I'm sure April 13th or whatever it is, we're going to get hit with. And this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And we'll do the whole song and dance all over again. That'll be another live edition of the mailbag. Set your email alerts.
Here's my big issue. But even before we get into the Cesaro stuff, we now have two individuals, both Braun and Cesaro, that were not only in featured singles matches at WrestleMania last year, won those matches, but the very next month, we're in the world title matches. And to me, I'm like, if you've got nothing for that person beyond that month, what are you doing? Like, I kept saying, and I felt like a dick last year because I kept being like, yeah, I don't care about the Cesaro thing because he's going to beat Rollins and they're not going to have him do anything. And then he had the match with Roman as like a courtesy. And then maybe even to try to keep Bryan around, you know what I mean? Like, and then that was that. And when Rollins came back, we were like, oh, cool. Maybe they'll get Hell in a Cell and they'll have some fun. They didn't even get Hell in a Cell. They had another like regular match. And then he was just done.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't been doing jack shit, really.
He's been teaming with Ricochet, who needs to leave.
Yeah. Not only has he been just teaming randomly with Ricochet, he had that random tag team match with Mansoor was his tag team partner. And they've been largely losing their matches. I don't think they've actually won a single one, now that I'm thinking about it, as like the tag team thing. Maybe they did. I don't know. They've had like 19 matches, and it seems like they've lost them all. So it's either that they did win, and it's entirely forgettable, or they didn't win, and it's also entirely forgettable. But it's like...
The weirdest thing is, the last thing he did was a PR interview with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, being like, yeah, it sucks that I wasn't in the Rumble, and maybe next year, and I'll keep trying. And then,
that too, it's just like, you don't even have a spot for him in the Royal Rumble. You have 30 people in there. You can't find a spot for Cesaro.
Yep. It's so weird.
Not everybody can get the main event. Not everybody can do this, whatever. But if we can figure it out when we're doing our fantasy booking things, I can't see why they can't. Especially because they have so many different people that should be able to do all the other things. So it's not like it's like a time management skill sort of deal. But it's very much the way that we've been saying things are. WWE is, there's this regression that's going on, and it's been happening for a few years. So I'm surprised that I didn't really assume that this was the direction that it was going, but we really could have just assumed. Vince seems like he's just like, you know what? I've gotten sick and tired of it. I want to book things the way that I used to book them. And I want to bring back the attractions that I used to like. I want to bring back the way that we used to do shows where it didn't matter if we did repeat things because you either watch it or you don't. Shut the fuck up kind of thing. And I think that they very much are in that territory, especially with somebody like a Nick Khan saying, you know, the money side of things. I think they're very much in the, as long as we have one or two attractions, that's all that matters. That's all anybody's going to care about. The rest of the card's garbage. Who gives a shit? Which makes me really nervous about WrestleMania this year. Of course, we'll get into that down the line. But I think that they made it abundantly clear years ago on the Stone Cold podcast. Vince McMahon does not see Cesaro as a main event guy. He flat out said it. And that was like 8 years ago or something?
Yeah, that's the thing. It was 7 years ago.
So that was past the point where he...
Well, no, it was about almost 8 because I think it was like shortly after the Punk podcast, which was released on Thanksgiving. Yeah, I don't understand how he... And credit to Austin, by the way, for being like, but Cesaro? Like,
yeah.
Why not Cesaro? And that was, again, 8... That was before all the NXT stuff, or like right after it. And Vince was just like, that's where the brass ring thing came in, isn't it? The whole, I hope they don't grab the brass ring anymore. And it's like, I think Cesaro could have, I think the thing with Heyman could have been his shot. But that was when they were really like, we can't have Heyman do anything but promote Brock. So every time Heyman was with Cesaro, his whole thing with Cesaro was like, and he's with me because my client, Brock Lesnar, broke the Undertaker's streak. Which makes sense. But Cesaro had so much more in him. That Bond gimmick was so good for him. The best of 7 with Sheamus probably killed him because the bar ended up being so good that it was just like, okay, cool. He can just do this again.
Right.
You know, but Cesaro's so good. And I'm almost at the point where I'm good with what they're doing now. Because you know what? Cool. You didn't try to do whatever to lock him under a contract. You let him go. And he doesn't have no compete, and he can literally show up on Dynamite or Impact or wherever he wants tomorrow. You know, and I think that that's cool. That you're not like forcing these people to stay under your roof.
So we, of course, don't know exactly how things have gone down, but what it seems like is the case is that they offered him a contract. He didn't like it, and he just sort of said, you know what? No.
Yeah.
And I applaud him for it. It's Applaudio. That's his name. But like, he knows that he is in a position that WWE would offer him whatever they offered him, whether it's the same amount that he's had before or a slightly bigger amount, or it could have been a lower amount. You know, we don't know exactly what they're doing. It wouldn't shock me at all if they offered him less. And it was like the typical thing that you could hear with any kind of job and whatever, but especially it seems in WWE of right like, now. Well, you know, we're trying to cut as much budget stuff as we can and whatever, and we're trying to do this and this streaming and this and all these excuses and blah, blah, blah. Then it ends up being like, okay, well, what are you getting at? Well, we're going to offer you less or whatever, but it's a 5-year contract, and, you know, you got this amount of money that you never know what can happen, and we've got plans for you. That whole, like, if you sign, we will push you. And then once they sign the dotted line, suddenly it becomes, well, plans changed. It's a lie that we've seen 1,000,000 times. And we've seen so many people come to WWE, get a massive push for 2 weeks, and then they fall off the face of the earth. or they get re-signed and suddenly they're in the, you know, Intercontinental Championship match and they don't win it and then they never come back to it. Or it's
How
like,
crazy is wrestling right now though, because like the Cody stuff just happened.
We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, like that. What we're seeing right now is pretty cool. You know, it is, because for so long it was just like they stay in WWE forever. And Cesaro, by the way, was on main roster television for 10 fucking years. He was on TV and was US champion before the Shield even debuted. Cesaro was there for a while. It just feels like he's been a hamster on a wheel because nothing changes it there. And I'm ready to see him go. I saw somebody say he'll be the Rihanna of wrestling. Everybody just wants him to wrestle, and he'll like go stream on Twitch and sell coffee and do everything but wrestle. And like realistically, he could.
Yeah, he could. But it's like Cesaro is such a good wrestler, and he knows it. And you know, I wrote up an article about this before we started recording this podcast. So a lot of the same opinions on that article, but he's in this position where his entire story, or his narrative, so to speak, is basically everybody knows how good he is. Everybody loves him. Everybody respects him. And everybody disagrees with the one person who doesn't see that. Because his story for nearly 10 years now has been Vince doesn't see him as a main event guy, but everybody else in the fucking world thinks he could win the world championship. Everybody. Whether you were a friend of his like Seth Rollins, or you're somebody like Stone Cold, or you're like Renee Young, or you are like everybody, a fan, you know, everybody has the same things. They're all like, he seems like a great dude. He can wrestle better than almost anybody. It's a shame Vince doesn't want to push him.
It's insane. Like he to me is what wrestling fans want. It's what Vince wants. Say what you want. He's what Vince wants. He's insanely strong. He can speak all these different languages. He can do all this PR. He just can't tell a "let me tell you something, brother" promo. That's
exactly
all he's missing.
If he had that, he doesn't even need to have hair. Stone Cold Steve Austin was bald, so you can't even be like, oh, you know, whatever.
Jason Statham,
but it's handsome as all hell. Yeah,
he's one of the best looking dudes on the roster. Like, come on.
It's literally, he can't cut a promo like The Rock. Like Vince was like spoiled essentially with The Rock and Hulk Hogan and Austin and a couple of these other people. And it became like that. Cesaro is basically a Bret Hart. Because Bret Hart, promos weren't his highlight. He was fine. You know, Bret Hart's cut a couple good promos, but Cesaro's cut a couple good promos as well. You know?
Cesaro is like if Razor Ramon was a better wrestler. I think like you get Cesaro. Where it's like, why the fuck? Really? He's been Intercontinental Champion how many times? Why don't you just give him the belt? Like,
well, it's if you're making the create a wrestler and you take a Razor Ramon, you up the points on the wrestler side. But
you give him like Razor Ramon's body and Bret Hart's moveset, and like you practically got Cesaro, except you throw a few uppercuts in there.
Well, I mean, like, you know how there's always those things in like those create a character things where it's like, okay, you've got a certain amount of points that you can spend.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you gave somebody like Razor an extra 2 bumps up on the in-ring content, but you needed to take 2 down from the promo. That's basically what it is. And it's like, good for him for leaving. He knows, I'm sure, that any company would want him and any company would benefit from having him. Let's just like go through the list. If you are NWA, put the fucking championship on him immediately. Immediately.
NWA, MLW, Impact Wrestling, you put the world title on him immediately.
Immediately. If you are on the indies, obviously, you could give him the championship. Who fucking cares? Like if you're, backyard wrestling fed for whatever, if you give him the championship, sure, it doesn't matter. The smaller indies, the bigger indies, whatever. It's the same sort of thing. If you're New Japan and you've got Cesaro going over there, major fucking deal. Make him a top contender, if not the world champion or something like that. But do something big with him. Make him, run down the list. Cesaro Okada, Cesaro Tanahashi. So, you just do the matches. You're good. Assuming he goes to AEW, which he's got friends there. And Tony Khan more and more keeps reiterating what we've kind of known for a couple years now. Tony Khan's booking his company as a wrestling fan gets to do fantasy booking. And that's working out pretty fucking great so far. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, not everything's perfect. And sometimes everything can kind of be a little bit hectic. And sometimes, you get like a Cody Rhodes situation or something like that. But you know what? He's got a couple toys to play with. He plays with the new ones. He decides which ones are his favorites. And, Andy kept Woody around, even though he had Buzz, that kind of thing. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm looking at Cesaro and I'm going, hey, pal, you're not in WWE right now? You want to come here? And I would immediately put him in a qualifying match against like an Ethan Page or better yet, Scorpio Sky. Have Scorpio Sky come out on this episode of Dynamite, talk about, the Face of the Revolution match. I won that last year. And you have Jeremy Lambert cut not Jeremy Lambert. Wow. You're working with Jeremy Lambert.
Different dude. I think he wouldn't mind cutting the promo, but that's different dude.
I don't know why I've got your coworker on my mind. Shout out to Jeremy, though.
Jeremy is a fucking great dude.
Dan Lambert.
I was like, yeah, Dan Lambert.
Have Dan Lambert cut the promo, even if you want to bypass the whole thing and, have him be a part of it. But it's mostly a Scorpio Sky promo. Have him talk about how, I won the Faces of the Revolution ladder match last year. I grabbed that brass ring. Nobody else knows what it's like to do that other than me. And I'm one of the men of the year and blah, 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 blah. And, I'm going to win it this year as well. Or, hey, I stepped out of the limelight. Ethan Page is going to be the one that's going to get it this year. And then you get Claudio popping up. And he's the person that they're going to fight for the qualifying match. Claudio wins. Claudio goes on. He grabs the brass ring, wins the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and he gets his match against Sammy Guevara. How fucking good would Sammy Guevara versus Claudio be? Amazing.
I mean, Claudio has to win. Like, they did this with Lethal. Like, Lethal came in, and it was like, okay, maybe you push him to the moon. But, Claudio has to win.
And it's like, you give him the TNT championship, that looks great. Sammy Guevara could lose it. It's okay. Sammy beats him. He's still not that, like, oh, okay, well, there goes the Cesaro push or something. No, that guy can still have a main event spot. He loses to Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is TNT champion. That's not still quite yet the mid-card title. It's the mid-card title. We all know it. But it doesn't have that kind of reputation yet. Sammy Guevara is a big deal. He just beat Cody Rhodes for this again. Like, yeah, if you have Sammy Guevara beat Serpentico and, 6 other people like that over the course of the next few weeks and, Baron Black and VSK and whatnot, yeah, it's going to mean shit. But if he continues to face all these other people that are a big deal, he beats Claudio, cool. You know what? Claudio still has CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, people like Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, fucking Keith Lee. Like,
it's right there. Like, the Punk shit's there. Because, I don't think he ever worked Cesaro. I remember him wearing Cesaro's shirt at the WrestleMania press conference. But I don't remember him ever actually working a one-on-one on TV with Cesaro. I hope I'm wrong. But, like, there's that story. Bryan and Claudio were... Bryan's building this faction, right? He can literally just come in with Bryan.
Right. And if you got him grabbing the brass ring, it's literally a shot at WWE of the first thing we fucking did with this guy was he grabs the brass ring and we can show you that we know how to book a talent. It's perfect. I mean, you can't get better than this. If he comes on Wednesday, it's a surprise because a lot of people that are casuals aren't going to know in these couple of days that Cesaro's left.
Yeah, because as I keep saying, they're not telling the world.
Right.
They're leaving that to other people.
Right.
And not everybody's following Sean Ross Sapp on social media. You
or
should.
Jeremy Lambert
or Jeremy Lambert.
or yourself or
anybody that I work with or myself. Like, you're just going to be like, what happened to that Cesaro? Mm-hmm. Oh, he got fired. Like, what? That's the craziest thing in the world to do. I guess he didn't get fired. Actually, he's one of the few, and that speaks to his professionalism as well. He's one of the few that didn't even get, released. He's still on their roster page. They haven't even moved him yet.
I bet that there's a portion of them that's like, well, he'll come around. It's a negotiating tactic. It's that kind of thing, And that could also happen. Like, that's not outside of the realm of possibility. Maybe they just go, okay, we'll give you a slightly better deal. That kind of thing. It could happen. But I'm hoping he goes to AEW.
But if you get him back, you need to run with it.
Well, technically speaking, if you get him back, you don't, because he'll have signed the contract and then you can do the whole fucking got you, but you can't keep doing that because then everybody goes, yeah, every time that you offer a contract.
I'm not signing a fucking contract.
Right. And then there's the whole thing that we've talked about before where it's like, well, the contract, technically speaking, is only a 90-day continually extending contract and not a full guarantee, because at any point they could just say, well, we're going to cut you short and we're going to do that. But it's just, it's a scenario where it's just too perfect. Cesaro should leave. He knows that he's not going to get that push. It's not going to happen. If it would have happened, it would have happened by now. And it's not like he's a young guy who's got 20 more years left on him that he could just be like, well, they'll come around to it. No, they're not going to. They've made it abundantly clear. So leave, go to AEW if they're offering you. And if you're Tony Khan, you put him in that ladder match immediately and you give him the brass ring. You just do it. They've got momentum on their side. And yeah, I don't give a shit if that's not the plan. I can't imagine that the plan would have been better than that. And that's already including like Wardlow and Keith Lee and all these people that could win that match. But like, look, as big of a fan of Keith Lee as I am, I don't want Keith Lee to win this match. If he wins and he loses to Sammy Guevara, Keith Lee looks like, well, that's it.
Yeah, like, and that's something too, is you have to be very careful, because if you look at Cody right now, Cody certainly comes off perception-wise as though he went right back from undeniable to undesirable. Like, the company he helped form let him go, and I think you run that risk if you don't use them hot out of the gate and keep them that way. You run the risk of people going, see, Ruby's not on television every week. Mm-hmm. See, where's Jay Lethal? He's just running around on Dark. So you run that risk. You can't do that with Cesaro, because the dude should have been world champion and everybody knows it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those self-explanatory types of things, and it's such an obvious that you should do it that I'm going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. And yeah, all right, yeah, Dante Martin wins. Okay, he can't just have a normal match with Sammy Guevara that he gets a random title shot down the line anywhere. Orange Cassidy, love Orange Cassidy. He could just have a match with Sammy Guevara. He doesn't need to win the Face of the Revolution ladder match. It's not like it's Money in the Bank where you're going to like wait to cash in at the perfect opportunity. It's just a number one contenders match. But it's got something else to it with the brass ring. And the Cesaro thing is just too perfect. But that's speculation of him not only continuing to stay out of WWE, but also going to AEW and also going to AEW in time for that and then also winning. more than likely this isn't what's going to happen. So we'll talk about that later on next week after we do our rundown of AEW Revolution. We'll probably try to maybe do that on Thursday. We'll wait until after Dynamite to do that kind of thing if we're able to. I mean, it kind of all depends. But the actually no, I'm looking at my schedule. Thursday, that's not gonna work. We're gonna end up doing that another time. I got a washer and dryer gonna get installed on that day, so I don't think I'll be able to do a podcast during that. But
I mean, we could do a whole podcast about the washer and dryer.
Just talk about Best Buy and how confusing it is to get them to change their certificate of insurance and stuff. But at least we can speculate that Cesaro might go to AEW. We got a couple other people to talk about. One is guaranteed. One is, I mean, to him, a guarantee.
Uttered by the talent that he had then had to backtrack.
Right. And then the other one is, well, we're just waiting for them to actually confirm it. So the three of them being, Jeff Hardy has said, I'm going to AEW and I'm excited about it. Oh, actually, it's not a guarantee. I'm just kind of, fucking putting it out there.
I have a goal for myself.
It's like, okay. Yeah. So you talked to Matt. Matt talked to Tony Khan. And, we all know you're going.
It'd be stupid not to bring you.
Right. Buddy Matthews, we know, is 100% guaranteed because he popped up on TV he signed and he got the graphic that he's all elite. So that's like, okay, we know that. And then the other one is Isaiah Swerve Scott, Shane Strickland, whatever you're going to call him. Swerve Strickland, maybe. I don't know. I think that out of these three, obviously, I'm expecting all three to go. Three, Buddy's already there, but you know what I mean. Like,
Buddy is there.
I'm expecting Swerve, Scott. I'm expecting Hardy.
Swerve seems all but a guarantee. Would have been a great choice for like a Joker in that ladder match, but you got this Cesaro thing now.
Yeah, and if that was the plan, was to have him pop up with that, I'm sorry, Swerve, but Cesaro's a better person for it. He's got the brass ring thing.
I don't think anybody would argue.
Right.
I think everybody loves Cesaro. Swerve seems to be a guarantee. It was reported by Fightful Select with the great Sean Ross Sapp, so I'm sure that's about as solid as it gets. And then Hardy, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. They've been teasing Hardy since the minute he left.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go, man. I'm ready for it. Jeff Hardy is, I said this back in the day when Cena was untouchable. Jeff Hardy could turn John Cena heel. Jeff Hardy could have turned Ray heel, I think. Jeff Hardy is such a beloved babyface that even now in his mid-40s, he still makes teenage girls lose their fucking minds. It's the weirdest thing, but Jeff Hardy is that X factor. He just is. And he needs to go have a great run. Red Dragon, FTR, Bryan and Punk, who I'm sure will be a tag team at some point. Maybe the Acclaimed. You got all these different tag teams you can work with, and that's not even saying, obviously he has to wrestle Sammy. Obviously he has to wrestle Darby. I think I told you guys, I don't know if we were on the air, but I was like, yeah, you eventually just have to do Hardy leaves the AHFO, then it's Andrade and the rest of them against Sting, Darby, Matt, and Jeff, and they're all wearing face paint. That's like the match that you do just to send people home happy. Jeff Hardy is a send them home happy guy. And what else? What else can you do?
He had recently said, fuck WWE.
Yeah, apparently. Same show he said the AEW thing on, right?
Yeah. As they wanted me to go to rehab and do all this and fuck them if they don't believe in me. And that's another topic of that kind of makes me feel a little bit iffy about some things, because that seems very... The language speaks to me as the same sort of thing as when people go, I don't have a problem. You know what I mean? So I'm worried about that. But of course I don't know. So I can't speak to that. I feel like
whatever happened that day, he was clean. Whatever it was, wasn't what they were looking for. You know what I mean? It was just, he had a weird day.
We might not ever really know what was happening.
Well, we'll hear something.
We'll hear at least his side of the story, probably. But then again, that's one person's side, and that could also be omitting details or flubbing things, or, you know. But, I mean, it's pretty obvious he's going to go to AEW. Swerve, if he goes, I mean, awesome, cool. Thought that he was great. Saw some future stuff in him. I want to see him against a whole bunch of people. Buddy Matthews, it's funny how, like, a couple years ago, I wouldn't have assumed that he would be so tied to Black. Because he comes in here and he is now part of House of Black. These two just seem like, I don't know, they had a match and then they were just sort of like, yeah, we're brothers for life sort of thing.
Well, okay, so it stems back from when Buddy was on 205. When Buddy was not even on 205 yet, he was on NXT. And they had a match, a house show, that Buddy says saved his career. Because they weren't doing anything with him, and then they had this match at a house show, and it was like, okay, we'll find something for you. How about 205 Live? And then that led to the Rollins thing. For me, and I said this on the Fightful podcast, one of my favorite things about this is his gear is identical.
Yeah, you cannot tell the difference, really.
He looks like he just walked out from the same dude who was with Rollins, just showed up on AEW. And I think that's rad. Like, I need more like that. Because it just looks like... And he popped up in the ring like a created character in a video game. It's exactly the way that you would want to see him. I want more of that. And they've got a good rapport, and eventually they're going to fight, and eventually they're going to... It's just going to be good, you know? AEW is in a sweet spot right now, and I think we just need to enjoy the good.
Yeah, like, what's bad about this? Buddy Matthews, again, probably not a guy that's going to be the world champion anytime soon, but he's a hell of a hand. He can wrestle, like, fucking great matches. We know that there are some great matches on the table. Buddy Matthews against Jungle Boy, Buddy Matthews against Darby Allin, whatever. These are going to be killer matches that could all be potentially match of the year type candidates. And I like the idea that he's with the House of Black instead of going up against it, because not only is that a little bit different, but when he splits eventually and then they do have that match, Malachi Black versus Buddy Matthews, it's going to mean more. And they'll probably have a fucking amazing match again, you know? Like, especially because they don't have the restrictions of WWE. They'll be able to just go out there and do the match that they've always wanted to do.
It's completely awesome to see him there. I can't think of a better place for him to be. I didn't think he'd land in AEW, but I'm glad he's there. And
I figured he would.
No, I thought he'd be more of an Impact guy. Because he is still Buddy Matthews. Like, he didn't win any pay-per-view main events. Like, he could have easily been a guy who just transitioned to big fish, small pond.
Reminds me again, of...
like, you know, we're in an era right now where two of the dudes who wrestled for the top world titles last year just gone. Like, you know?
And it reminds me that Tony Nese is on the roster. Yeah, Nese and Matthews could be a tag team again, you know?
That was good.
They could be, I don't assume, probably not feuding or whatever, but I don't know. That's if you're gonna try to do something that WWE did and you could do it better, I mean, these are some people to work with. But we got that to talk about. We got Tony Khan has his major announcement coming up this Wednesday, potentially. It seems like this has been a couple times of like, I'm hoping by the end of the week I'll be able to announce it, and then another week goes by kind of thing.
It seems like this is an actual, like, there's legal involved here.
Right, like he can't really say it until they sign some kind of thing or something, but they're talking about it. I'm 100% getting the vibe that he's got to deal with another company. And I'm really thinking that the only two things that make any sense to me are it's either AEW has a streaming deal of some kind, like, well, you know, we decided to sign a deal with Hulu or whatever, fucking, I don't know. Or it's we bought out Ring of Honor or something. So it's kind of like our last guesses, so to speak.
I think it's a streaming platform. I'm gonna say final answer, streaming platform.
Do you think it's going to be that they create their own, or do you think that they partnered up?
If HBO Max would just get a live feed so that I could just buy the one thing and have everything, that'd be great. You know, like, they are in Warner Media. I want that to be the case, but we'll see.
So you're thinking maybe HBO Max?
I'm thinking it's got to be an existing platform. They don't have anything. They don't have a library, really, to be like, sign up for AEW, the AEW network.
Do you think they would call it AEW Network, or do you think they'd go like the All Elite Network or something?
The All Elite, yeah, it probably would be the All Elite Network. We'll see though, because maybe they do just buy libraries. So it's like, yeah, we have a streaming platform, and it's going to be everything you want.
See, I'm leaning less from the streaming thing if they were to sign with another company, because I can't imagine that HBO Max has that capacity going on right now, and then I didn't hear anything about it.
Right, the live thing, you mean? Like, they're just gonna have live. Yeah, me too.
And if they just announced, okay, well, all our content's going to be able to be found on there, it's not live, it's not the same as pay-per-views, you still have to pay 50-something bucks on Bleacher Report Live or whatever, then that's like, people are going to go, well, what the fuck, you know, on Peacock, I can get the live thing, that kind of thing. Right. And, you know, I mean, I write for Bleacher Report, but I don't know everything that's going on in the company. I have caught zero wind of Bleacher Report Live turning into more of a network, you know? Like, that's basically, I'm assuming, going to stick as like a fight type of thing. I can't imagine Fight is going to be really fully locking in that kind of deal. So I'm kind of staying away from the streaming thing, because I don't think that they're creating their own, but it's a possibility, because that would be a major, major announcement. And if he's hyping this as a major announcement that's going to like potentially change wrestling and all this other kind of thing, it doesn't seem like it's just a signing.
About is we are running a head-to-head show with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you're going to get to see Okada versus Omega and Punk versus Kenta. Like, that's the only other thing I can think of. Like, hey, guess what? We're running a special show in September, and this year's Grand Slam is going to be AEW versus New Japan, and we got Okada, and we got Tanahashi, and we got Kenta. Like, that's the only other thing I can see it being. Which would be cool for the diehards, but I feel like somebody will feel let down by that.
If it's another pay-per-view, I think it's that. And I think it's an AEW branded pay-per-view. I think that they'll announce that they're going to do, and of course, if we get a trademark, like, you're going to get, you know, notice of this before I would, most likely. But like, if we just suddenly see a trademark of like AEW Revolving Door or like AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view or something. Here we go with the ambulance again. I'm sorry, everybody.
It's because you figured out the Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Maybe that's what it is. So now, you know, they're coming after me. It's an ambulance, not the cop car. Hopefully that person's okay.
Listen, you live in New York. I don't think you need to apologize. You live in New York.
I do want to apologize, because it's annoying as all hell. And if I wanted to stop myself mid-thought and mute, then I would have to edit this whole thing and, you know, whatever, and I don't have the time. But I'm kind of thinking that there's a chance that AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view becomes a thing, and it ends up being like, look, like you said, like September or something, maybe like mid-July, whenever they plan on doing whatever, because Double or Nothing's what, May? I think it's May?
May something, and they're running a T-Mobile.
So you got Double or Nothing in May. You've got All Out is like August or September.
So Labor Day weekend always.
And then you've got Full Gear in November. So they spread these out a little bit, but of course they do like Fyter Fest and, you know, these other special gimmicky shows. I could see it being AEW Forbidden Door. We've announced that in June or July or whatever we want to do this, that we are going to have a specifically branded pay-per-view where we are going to invite people from NWA, from Impact, from ROH, from New Japan. Hell, even the people from WWE are welcome if they want to show up, and we can work out a deal. And that they don't necessarily announce what the matches are, but it's like, we know that we will be getting some of these names. So you will get your Okada and your Tanahashi and whatever. We we've literally worked out the deal with these companies to agree to have that kind of thing. It's just a matter of figuring out the details. And you could have champion versus champion on things. You could do this, you could do that. I think that there's a good chance of that.
Because like the only other thing we have from him is it's not a person.
Right.
And it's akin to the First Dance. What if they're running the fucking Garden?
If it is, that's disappointing.
You would be disappointed in them running the Garden?
Yeah, because for me, even though I'm right fucking here, I don't care. That's not a big deal. Like, to a lot of wrestling fans, that's a huge, huge deal. Like, oh my God, you're running Madison Square Garden. This is crazy. How are you going to get the big, how are you going to pack the stadium? All this other kind of stuff. I don't have that reverence. A lot of people would be like, it's MSG. It's the biggest thing. It's, whatever. And that's WWE territory. And you're doing this. I don't feel like it's the territory days like that anymore. I think WWE, of course, would care, but I don't have a personal stake in it.
They did try to stop Ring of Honor. They did call to like, yo, you can't do that. That is cool. And they wanted to run the first Dynamite at MSG, so that is an option. Remember that.
But to me, that is not worthy of what's seeming like a big, big, big announcement. I just don't feel like that. If he goes, and our big announcement that's going to shift wrestling and it's this major, major thing is we're going to have a show and it happens to be at this particular arena. I'll be like, fuck, what? Like, come on. I don't care if it's like, we're going to run this stadium and WWE is like, making a big deal about it. We're in AT&T Stadium. Like, I do care in the sense of like, I think it's cool that WWE is doing stadiums now lately, but I personally, if you tell me that this episode of Monday Night Raw is from the fucking KFC fuck you center, and the next week it's from the Lincoln TD Bank, whatever, I don't know. I don't even know the names of these stupid ass things. The Prudential Arena. Okay. I don't care. Dress it all up the same.
Listen, I think it's a big deal if it's the Garden. I think they should announce it on Saturday when WWE is in the middle of the Garden.
If that is, they should. That'd be fantastic.
Brock Lesnar should just be defending the title, and a poster comes up on the Tron like AEW here for All Out or something like that. That'd be fun.
They would instantly get so much more respect from me just by trolling like that. But I'm hoping that it's the announcement of that they're taking over another company. I'm hoping that they bought out Ring of Honor.
I don't know if they're ready for that, though.
Fuck it. Do it. Merge.
Well, you really tied my hand here. Can't argue that.
You can't argue. Fuck it. Just do it. But that's what I'm hoping. I really hope that it's like, look, we talked to the people from Ring of Honor, and when they wanted to do their whole re-strategizing their business thing or whatever, they were going to officially become a subsidiary of All Elite Wrestling. Because it kind of...
Would you want them to buy Ring of Honor?
Totally. I would want them to buy not only Ring of Honor, but I'd want them to buy out Impact.
I'd like them to buy I'd like Tony to buy the NWA.
But buy 3.
Well, yeah.
2 for 1 deal kind of thing,
They're separate companies, so that's not how it works.
They don't need to be. Just merge them all together. It just goes like, hey, look, I'll give you this amount of money. I'll give you X monies.
Why can't I have 3 promotion and nobody's?
Exactly. Just be like, here, I will give this amount for this one, this amount for that one. You can all like just stop it. I'm hoping it's that. Of course, we might not even get the answer this Wednesday night. If we do, it might be something completely different to anything that we've said. But those are our last guesses. Ultimately, I'm going to say, I'm hoping that he buys one of those companies, but I'm predicting that it's a a Forbidden Door pay-per-view. What's your ultimate hope and your ultimate prediction?
My ultimate hope is that it's... I would love for them to buy a promotion, but I think they need a streaming platform above all else. And my prediction is that it's probably like, we're doing a Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Or even where I would, you know what? I'll lock in, we're running the Garden.
Little reminder, if anybody is wondering if that might have anything to do with AEW's video game, I don't think that's going to be the case, but if you do want to discuss anything about wrestling video games, we've got our Smark Madness tournament going on right now, where you can vote on the qualifying round of which 32 games you want to be in the bracket and help determine the seeding for the bracket by, which ones get more votes, and that's how seeding works. But that's going to be going on the qualifying round. It's a 2-week qualifying round, and then after that we're going to get into round 1 and stuff. So vote while you can, and we will continue that going on. And the last thing for us to do here is to just run down some TV talk of anything that happened in the week that is pretty interesting. There's a certain guy that popped up in AEW named Buddy Matthews. We already talked about that, but
hell yeah.
I know that I have got nothing to say about NXT UK. This was a pretty worthless episode in my mind.
Yeah, I can't even pretend to say anything, but I think next week will be fun with the title match and the Nathan Fraser. He's really cool.
I can see myself skipping everything again next week.
Sleeper match, but at some point, if you watch it, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I had thought of from NXT UK this week was the Isla Dawn kick to Miko Satomura. The fact that there was nobody in the crowd, no anything going on, and she just kicks her and then steals her flowers. The sound just was so flat. I recommend anybody checking that out just to see how awkward it was. But yeah, nothing going on there. We already know the spoilers for Level Up, and it's nothing all that interesting. We don't know what's happening on SmackDown, but I highly doubt it's going to be anything that we're going to be like,
we
damn.
Are recording this before SmackDown. Get used to that.
Yeah, we might be doing that going forward, because SmackDown's...
I'm really pushing for that going forward.
SmackDown's not really been proving itself to be well, why don't we wait until then? Because, man, some major things might happen. It's pretty much not been happening, so, let's talk about Monday Night Raw, though. Anything happening on there that was particularly interesting that you want to talk about?
I loved the Edge promo. The Edge promo was so good. I told you it felt like wrestling to me. He made WrestleMania sound so important. And that's what's missing, man. He sat in a chair and talked about Hogan and Andre and being at WrestleMania 14 and being at, the TLC matches, threw in a little love to Devon, who just had spinal surgery. Edge is so good, and it really makes you realize different era, man. Because he still knows exactly how to talk people into a building.
Yeah, I like the promo. Of course, he mentions, if I'm wrestling phenomenal. There, I'm phenomenal, which is okay, you're going to fight AJ Styles, which is cool.
But he also said, I need someone who's going to let out my inner demon. Could be Balor. And then he said, and I need someone who's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
Cody? First of all, I like the idea of I'm going to wrestle at WrestleMania and I am waiting for someone to step up. It should be AJ. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but I like the idea of maybe it's, maybe it's Cody. Look, I don't, there's no story there, but if any two people could make me believe that this is the most important thing in the world to them, it would be those two.
I do expect it to be AJ Styles.
Absolutely.
And
I expect them to steal the show. And I'm going to say this right now, Tony. I don't like the 2-night WrestleMania thing. I think it hurts some of the matches. I really do. Is it better for us to digest? Sure. But I really do think it hurts some of the matches.
I've been pitching that WrestleMania should be WrestleMania week. So I'm kind of in a different scenario.
I don't want more of that. Because look at the excuses. Look at and they'll compete against Becky Lynch in a main event. No, it won't be. It'll be the fucking match that opens the second night of the pay-per-view.
It will be. especially now that we got confirmation of what we've been saying for all along. We're like, all right, Rousey Flair on night 1, that's main event, and Reigns and Brock on night 2, and we've got the confirmation of that. So it's like, okay, well then Bianca and Becky are night 2, and they're probably going to start. And then night 1 is just that's the question mark is, where do they start with night 1? You know, like,
yeah,
it's funny how it works out like that. But I do think that that's really cool that Edge did that. I would like it a lot better if it wasn't that was where half of WrestleMania seems to be going these days, where somebody goes match and another person goes, yup, me. And then they go, there you go, biggest pay-per-view of the year. We did the build. And you're like, no, you didn't. You just fucking announced it. Like, you just typed it out.
I think that with Edge, it works. Like, Taker could have done that.
Taker could.
Like, that's part of what was working with the Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker stuff was Taker goes, match. And Triple H goes, me. Because I've done everything else there is to do, so me.
Yeah, but I would rather them do that than for 1 or 2 things than for that to be a norm, you know?
Right. Like, I don't like that it's becoming, you know, I'm Charlotte Flair. I'm going to fight you just because I'm going to get under her skin because I'm not picking her until next year.
Yeah.
Bitch. Like, what?
But this was an episode that it felt weird to me. Like,
yeah, you were not a fan, bro. You were not into this.
The part that got me to send a message to Rob of just, I don't want to fucking watch more of this, was the Bianca Belair promo, which is no fault of Bianca Belair, no fault of Becky Lynch. Both are fantastic. They're both 2 of the best that they've ever had. And I am a huge fan of both of them. I want both of them to succeed like crazy. Dude, I can't talk about the positives enough, but I was just like, I don't fucking care, because Bianca comes out and she's like, let me praise all the other women and let me kind of get a little bit mixed up in what I'm saying and kind of forget my lines a little bit. Everybody can do that kind of stuff. I flub on this thing all the time. Who fucking cares? But Becky Lynch comes out and she essentially says, you know, whatever, like, we're going to have our match. And they hit the thing that I was just like, damn it.
Said that they were going to hit. Like,
which was the 2 women that won the main event of WrestleMania are going to fight each other. And I'm like, there's your hook. There's your tagline. That's all you fucking care about. And that's all we're going to hear for 6 weeks. That's all we're going to hear.
And that's what I told you. I said, I don't necessarily want it to be Bianca because they're just going to do the 2 women in the main event of WrestleMania. And again, I love the idea and the story of with 2 minute that main event of WrestleMania, and I gotta get my revenge on you for 26 seconds, except for the fact that you did the match for 3 months afterwards. And I don't care what anyone says. You could say, well, Rock and Austin. Listen, they did not fight each other year round and then go, and we're going to do it again at Mania. They would fight at Mania, maybe the month after, and then not touch again for a little bit.
And also, that's one of the reasons why I stopped watching. I originally stopped watching because of a couple things. One of them being, I'm sick of them just repeating the same thing about Austin and The Rock. Because it was just any segment that I'm watching, they're talking about, yeah, but The Rock and yeah, but the Austin. And I'm like, I get it. Oh my God, I get it. I can't deal with the repetition. That's what kills me with this repetitive thing in WWE. So it's like, oh man, I don't want to hear 6 weeks of the 2 women that won the main event of WrestleMania fighting up each other and scene. Because it's like that you gave up. That's all, that you're done. You're not going to put any more effort into it. Just the same as I don't care that The Miz announced that Logan Paul is his tag team partner and he's going to fight Rey and Dominic. Question mark. Because the asterisk that's going on here, they, last time I checked, didn't put this up on WWE.com.
Yes, they. Well, no, but they agreed to it. They're just being like, and now they'll do it in the middle of Sunday night. They'll go, no, it's official. Yeah.
The fact that they didn't put a graphic up yet makes me go, maybe Dominic's not going to be in the match. And maybe it's just going to be one of those things where it's like,
go. Bad Bunny.
I'll spoil an article that's going up on Sunday morning that I had written a couple days ago that was ways to spice up the rest of the card for WrestleMania, which has, for instance, Damian Priest should be more of the Damian side against the Demon King Finn Balor, not just do the match and then do the match and then do the match. But I think that they should bring either Bad Bunny in, or if they can work out a deal, fucking Cain Velasquez. It sounds dumb to bring his name up, but you know what?
But you know what, though? You know what? They have been shitting. They have been taking just a nice, long shit on Dominic for quite a while now. And yeah, I know, like, we've talked on the podcast about him not being great, but he really deserves to do this match with his dad. You can't just be like, here's Cain Velasquez or here's Bad Bunny. If you took him out of it beforehand, sure.
That's what I'm getting at.
You think they're gonna do you think they haven't announced it because they don't want to do the match?
I think that there's something else to it. Yeah.
I hope not. Dominic deserves to do the match.
Because if they can do that and they can bring in another person, that is infinitely a bigger deal. Because let's face it, Ray and Dominic against The Miz and Logan Paul, who fucking cares? And then they'll go, oh, but Logan Paul's a big star in mainstream media. And then it's like, yeah, but you know what? I don't fucking care. I'm not going to care if it's, Bad Bunny comes in and whatever, but at least then you're adding another celebrity. And if you could do, I highly, 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 highly doubt that you would do the Cain Velasquez thing, because I'm pretty sure he's signed with AAA or something, or CMLL or one of those. But imagine if you could. You got Ray and Cain have had a partnership in the past. You take Dominic out of the match. You have like The Miz and Logan Paul, quote unquote, injure him. And Ray needs a new partner and he looks for somebody else. Logan Paul, he's boxed. Put him up against an MMA guy. Suddenly it becomes, oh, fuck, Logan Paul's going to get his ass kicked by somebody who has like a 17-3 record or something.
He's good, but like Logan Paul, hasn't he been winning the fights?
I don't know. I think he's like 0-2 or something.
I'm all right with the idea of him fighting Bad Bunny. I'm all right with the idea of him fighting Cain Velasquez. I like The Miz and Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul genuinely came in there and he owned it.
See, I don't even really dislike the idea of The Miz and Logan Paul teaming. It's just on this card, that's what bothers me. Because it's like, all right, if The Miz and Logan Paul fought a better tag team that would make more sense, and we didn't just have the only 3 matches that are announced so far are rematches, and 2 of those are, let's throw all the eggs in the basket of both titles, and it's, Brock and, we've talked about this a million times, so I don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but then like the Ronda Rousey thing, let's be honest, in WWE's mind, Ronda Rousey's on the card, that's interesting, there you go.
Do you think, I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but I do want your opinion on this. You think Becky wins at WrestleMania?
There's a chance.
And that they, like next year, it's winner take all, Becky and Ronda?
No, I don't think they'll do that.
You think they just keep doing winner take all matches?
No, I think that this is going to be the last one of them that they do for a while.
Do you think that they merge the belts?
With Roman?
Do you think that it becomes a singular world championship?
There's a chance. There's definitely a chance. I would if... I'll put it this way. I would if they had something in mind of what to do with Roman other than The Rock's going to come out and we're going to say next year at Mania we're doing that match and the whole next 12 months don't matter.
Okay, well, I've already said this on the air, I think that's how they end WrestleMania. I
think that's how they end Mania. But I don't really love it. I don't really hate it because we all know that's what they're going for. But then I don't think that you need to. I don't think you need to do the whole merge the belts, though.
I think you do. I'm sorry. It's the same reason why I keep saying I love this match. I love the idea that Brock and Roman are having the winner take all match. Otherwise, you'd be in a very bland other title match.
I think that that's just their fault. And that's the fact that they could do something and they didn't, and that the alternative would be that it sucks, means they failed from the beginning. It's not like...
But they failed. Like, this isn't something that where I'm saying, well, they failed because they're not doing, Riddle, Randy Orton. I'm saying, if you know you're not going to treat anything bigger than Brock and Roman, don't have separate championships. Go back to having a singular brand. Like, that's the only reason I keep pushing for the brand split.
My problem with that, though, is if you do that, then we're just going to have the same Roman Reigns promo twice a week instead of doing something else, And
I think, like, you can eventually fix that. You can't fix, like, hey, the reputation of the WWE title is in the toilet because you're clearly emphasizing the Universal title because it's the one Brock and Roman and all those guys are fighting for.
Another part of Monday Night Raw from this week that I was just kind of like, man, this would matter so much more if I didn't already see it. If everybody goes nuts over Bianca Belair hitting a KOD and Doudrop, she's done it 3 times.
Yeah, but it's always impressive just because.
Yeah, it's impressive, Bianca's but it's impressive. Like, you know what? I don't flip out over it.
It is like, yeah.
Yeah. When Star Wars first came out, everybody was like, oh my God, these special effects are amazing. Yeah, I don't think it's amazing anymore. I've seen it.
Granted, that's a little mean, but yeah. That sucks. Go ahead.
Yeah, Last Jedi does suck. But like, that's how it is. It's like, okay, well, everybody's just like, oh my God, she did the move she did before. And it's like, yeah, she can do it. It's cool. I can't.
I felt that way about Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash.
About what? Just she beat her?
Just like, yeah, like why what are we doing here? Like,
yeah, wasting time. But the Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens thing, they beat RK Bro, so now they're in the tag title hunt, and they're just kind of waiting for stuff. And I don't know what's going on with this, because it's like, if Kevin Owens fights Seth, if he fights Stone Cold, what does Seth Rollins do? And we're really waiting on this RK Bro split. I don't want them to just be like, and the game plan is at Mania, RK Bro is fighting Alpha Academy again. I'd be like, damn it, you're wasting time.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. I think this is a problem across both WWE and AEW because, let's be fair, AEW had a ton of time to build towards
Paige.
Yeah, build towards Paige,
Adam and Adam.
Adam and Adam. And they're just rushing it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think these companies are having this problem of like, let's just prolong everything and then rush.
Yeah, it's stall and then rush.
Listen, I accepted it with COVID, but I didn't want COVID to become the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you shouldn't learn the wrong lessons.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about NXT. Grayson Waller beat LA Knight. They're going to have another match down the line, it seems. We got the start, finally, of the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which is made out of like 6 teams or something. It's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 teams. They really patched this shit together. It's just person and person because, like Amari Miller and Lash Legend, because...
Why is this the second time this year we're saying this about a women's event? The Royal Rumble was super patched together.
Mm-hmm. That's because they fired so many people. And because they don't care.
Let's talk about that. Like, what is it with these women that you're just like, it doesn't matter anymore?
Mm-hmm.
You spent, what is it, like 2 years straight rehabbing the division, and then a good year getting to, and women's tag titles, and main event of WrestleMania. And now you're just like, oh, poop. We've got to do it because, we need to appease this audience. And then you don't have anything. And I feel like if you don't have anything, don't do it. And I mean that even down to the Women's Royal Rumble. If you're not confident in your ability to have one, Just don't do it.
You know what I'm not confident in? Dante Chen.
Well, look, man.
The guy, he comes up. It's just another one of those, I'm Dante Chen and I'm a superstar and I'm going to light this world on fire and I'm bland as all fuck. He gets injured. He comes back. It's like, yeah, I was a guy. You don't remember me because immediately after I came up and didn't impress anything, I got injured. But now I'm back and I'm going to do all the things. And Duke Hudson's like, yeah, eat floor. And I'm like, fuck yes. Duke Hudson, I like him. And I like that they're
liking him with Persia.
I like this story, oddly enough. That he's like hitting on Persia, and then he's at the same time he's like, "Well, I used to fuck Indy, huh?" Like that guy. I'm like, all right, I like Duke Hudson. I always root for the assholes, and he's becoming a grade A asshole. So I'm like,
what does that say about you as a person?
it's
I often wonder. I really do.
The repetitive nature of me rooting for the assholes, and on reality shows and on other things, like, you know, people on the Big Brother side of things, like Will on season 2 of Big Brother, easily my favorite player of all time, and he's a complete jerk. But and I always wanted to play like villain type of people and like acting things and stuff. It's just because it's so fun, and I don't get the chance to do that because I'm a good person. So it's like I want to live vicariously kind of deal. But I liked that. I liked that he just, you know, slammed his face down. It was just kind of like, there you go, pinfall. And now I'm gonna go make out with the one girl, and then talk about how I used to make out with the other one. We got our first look outside of 205 Live, which of course doesn't exist. Doesn't matter. Nobody's supposed to remember that is a show, and you didn't watch it. And I'm sure you didn't watch it anyway. But Nikita Lyons had her debut.
Did the world get a good look at Nikita Lyons.
She is immediately becoming a star.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, you should be talking about bringing her up already. Not bring her up, but you should be talking about it, you know?
I mean, they need to figure out who she is. She's a singer, guitar player, dancer, nunchuck user, but
she's a chucker, as Michelangelo would say. Fellow chucker, huh?
Yeah, you know, but there's something there. Look, the internet did not stop talking about this. And yeah, it's worked out great for Tony D. You could forever say he was in War Games.
Wait, what? What was the connection to Tony D and War Games?
I mean, like, it's worked out for him, you know, like he can forever, like, he's a star because people like that he said, hey, like, if they're talking about you.
I'm like, wait, what? Was Nikita Lyons going to be in War Games now? Like, what's this word?
She probably will be. Because again, that's another one of those matches where they have cornered themselves into, we need to do this every year. Let's do this every year.
Well, she jumped straight to potential world champion level to me. I was just like, you know what? If everybody's going as nuts over her as they are, she is their new Nia Jax in a lot of sense. Like, she's the big woman that will just, you know, barrel through the competition, but she's a lot more flexible and seems like she would be better off than Nia Jax would. Of course, it's brand new for her career, so we don't know. But I'm like, you know, I could see her being the next NXT Women's Champion. Way more than a lot of other people.
Yeah. And I'm all right with that. Like, I don't watch anymore. So, like, anything I see of NXT 2.0 is secondhand. And from what I can see, they like her. Did you see this? I don't think I talked to you about this, but, like, these two women, Sophia Cromwell and her name's starts with an M, like Mia something. They call themselves the Material Girls, and I'm seeing them on Instagram doing like these fashion shoots, and I'm like, wait, why aren't they in vignettes and in the Dusty Cup if they're like a legit unit? Like, that seems like a missed opportunity.
This first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, that seems like a missed opportunity to me.
So Sophia Cromwell's been on a list of people that I've been like, is she one of those other names? Because they trademarked a bunch of names and we still don't know what some of them are. Now we eventually know Nikita because they did do the whole Nikita thing. And I was like, this Nikita name's been around for a while and we don't know who it's going to go to.
Yeah, Nikita Lyons. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we didn't talk about this from Raw. NXT 2.0 as close as it gets. Did you hear them fucking use that phrase like 3 times in a row?
No, I wasn't listening.
So I guess that's why they trademarked it as close as it gets. It's a tagline for NXT. Because when Ciampa was on Raw, they kept going, tomorrow on NXT 2.0 as close as it gets. I'm like,
ew.
What?
That's a mouthful. No.
Yeah, like...
I never even liked the NXT name. When they like first announced, oh, NXT is going to be the new show that's going to replace ECW, I was like, you just have next without the E. That's dumb. So if you add 2.0, hate it. You add as close as it gets, ugh.
I think they made NXT work years and years later, but I do agree with you that it was like, okay, they're next. Okay, like what is this?
Yeah. I'm liking what I've seen so far of to a set extent. I mean, it's kind of like the generic bland thing that's happening with NXT now, where almost everybody is just sort of bland. But the more we see of Fallon Henley, the more I like her. Tatum Paxley, might be something there. Kayla Inlay, sure, why not? Nothing really standing out to me too much, but there's people. Dolph Ziggler beat Tommaso Ciampa, so he's going to be number 1 contender now, which makes sense. Dolph Ziggler versus Braun Breaker.
He's not getting a title shot at WrestleMania week, is he?
So they kind of implied that would happen before that, but it's only a few weeks away. So I'm assuming next week we get Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode against Tommaso Ciampa and Braun Breaker. Or we get that the week afterward, and it's just kind of like some bullshit. We probably get Braun Breaker beating Robert Roode in a regular match.
If you're Dolph, do you pitch to win the belt? Or are you just like, I don't care anymore?
I'll put over the kid.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I don't think Ziggler really cares.
Sad as it is, I think this is his first singles match was with Otis. This will be his second singles match during WrestleMania week.
Crazy.
He's been there forever.
And it'll be not at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it'll be his first not takeover.
But you know what, though? Good. Dolph wrestling Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver is so much better than Dolph just being in the Battle Royal.
And it's also better than Braun Breaker versus Santos, who's not going to beat him.
Right. Yeah. So I like that. I think we should just round this out with Dynamite, which we had some interesting stuff here and there. Pac and Penta Oscuro beat Malachi Black and Brody King. We got the whole thing with
That's
Buddy
where
Matthews.
Buddy came in.
Jericho and Eddie Kingston promo. That was fun.
Yeah, I liked it. I like the idea that they're going to have a match. I feel like Kingston's finally going to win.
What's going on with Jade Cargill and Ty Conchi? Because they have Ty Conchi come out after Cargill beat the Bunny. And
as
she's
though
like,
they've been feuding for 50 years.
Conchi's like, I'm going to beat your ass. Cargill says at Revolution. And then they start kind of like just being in the ring together. And so far since then, I haven't seen a single thing of confirmation that match is happening at Revolution.
Well, because remember, she also got chased off by Anna Jay.
So where do you think this is going?
I'll do a 3-way dance. I've been waiting for them to do a 3-way dance for the belt with Anna Jay and Tay Conti. I thought they'd do it with Baker because it's a good story to tell.
I'm cool with just Conchi versus Cargill.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like if you add this extra wrinkle, it can last a little longer. These Jade matches are going a little bit longer, but they could stand to increase a little. I'll tell you one thing for Revolution I did not like. They're doing this Tornado Trios match, and like I get why they're doing it. That's a way to get Sting on the card, way to get Darby on the card. But like, that's the one that you put on Rampage in order to avoid this show going 5 hours.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know if that's the one. They might add another match that's even more so. They might just be like, and it's House
of Black against Death Triangle because Phoenix is healed.
Or like it's Matt and Mike Seidel against I don't know. the Gun Club. Yeah. But we know that Red Dragon won the Tag Team Battle Royal. They are filling up one of those tag team spots. And, we'll run down the AEW Revolution card next week in a couple days when we start getting into that. But here's the thing I really want to talk about. That MJF promo. It's on my list already as one of my favorite things from the year.
Really good.
I absolutely loved it in so many different ways. It's not often you hear me gush about stuff on here. A lot of times it's just complaints, but this was amazing. It's a masterclass in like heel manipulation. Because what he's doing is he's full blown gaslighting people. And just people are literally typing stuff online. Oh, he's never going to be a heel to me again. He just moved into babyface territory. Oh, and it's like, that's the point. He did something that very, very few people could do, which was he produced something that's real, it seems. Like, this is probably all reality. And he cut it in a way.
Yeah. They pulled up the
Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like this is probably mostly all real. Maybe some elements are a little bit tweaked or something. It's like you watch a movie that says it's based on a true story and it's like, yeah, but this didn't really happen 100% that way. But whatever the case is, the majority of it's most likely real. And he told a story that is 100% a babyface story so that he can get in CM Punk's head and get in the head of the fans and be a fucking great villain for it.
Yeah. And can you honestly say that he might not get cheered over CM Punk?
Right. And it's like, if he gets cheered over Punk because of this, and he just cheats to win, and he just goes, you fucking bought it? You idiots. I just wanted to get in Punk's head. That kind of thing. My God, you're so easy to manipulate. I'll spoon feed you this shit, and you'll just drink it up and say, thank you, Max. Give me more. And I'll say no. Like, this guy's fucking brilliant.
And then, like, there's he's going to be a babyface at some point, and this proves it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all you need.
This is, I highly doubt there's going to be much that ends up being on my list that I end up liking better than this whole year. It sounds so bad to like peak, but I'm like, this is one of my favorite things I've seen in a long time.
Don't get me wrong. Very bad to peak. Like, it's February 25th. You can't peak yet.
But I thought that this was an all-time promo.
Oh, absolutely.
So major fucking credit to MJF. This dude is just phenomenal. And I don't even think he knows how good he is, And
he's just a kid.
Yeah, he's like, what, 24?
He's like, yeah, it's crazy.
So that's
absolutely. Shout out to him.
That's the set of the hot tags that I got for this week. Maybe something happens on SmackDown. If it does, we already fucking did it. So we'll see something that will tie into the discussion for next hot tags or something if that's the case. But maybe I'll be tweeting about it, or maybe we'll do some other kind of dark cast or something if that does end up being the case. I do know that our dark cast coming up for March, at the very least, we know we've got one on the schedule, which is going to be going back to the fantasy card stuff. We're going to talk about the NXT cards that we could make up, and maybe call that like stand and deliver or something, tie that into that or something. I don't know. But we do have a couple of other things in the pipeline. I mentioned before that WrestleMania 21 watch along is happening on Sunday. We got the AEW Revolution content for next week, another round of the hot tags, and so on and so forth, getting into WrestleMania season, which we'll fill you in more on later on. But if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkoutMoment, and you check out smarkoutmoment.com, you'll see whatever is happening all over the spectrum. And if you check out fanboysanonymous.com, you'll see the geek culture stuff over there on the blue brand. So check that out and like and follow and share and subscribe and all those good things over there. Do the same thing for me at Tony Mango all over the place on Facebook and Twitter. And check out what Rob's got cooking as well. What are you eating for dinner?
I don't know what I'm eating for dinner yet. That's a phenomenal question. I have no clue. You can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Maybe I'll talk about dinner. I talked about a pizza I ordered on Monday. I was very excited. Don't know if it was for Raw or the pizza. Probably the pizza. My first pizza of 2022. But
really, you didn't eat pizza before that?
I have not eaten pizza before that.
How did you go 2 months without eating a pizza?
I don't know, man. It was crazy. I was like, I gotta rectify this, and I did. But you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. You can check that out on twitch.tv/Dude Felice. I don't have a set schedule for streaming. I just sort of, hey, I have a minute on a Saturday. I get to do something. But hopefully one day a set schedule will come, as will dudefelice.com. I want to say by Mania, it will definitely be live. Maybe it'll be live this week. I just have to talk to the person I'm working with and see where we're at on that. But yeah, just keep following that stuff. Keep following Fightful. Keep following Fightful Select. If you're one of the people who listens to this podcast and you're sending in super chats about my smile, thank you. That really helps. Somebody actually sent a Humper chat in saying, I don't know how much they couldn't pay to keep Cody or something like that, but I would pay all of it to keep Robert at Fightful. And I'm like, well, if I thought that Tony was watching right now, I would think that was Tony. And I was very grateful for that. So if you're listening to that, thank you. Yeah, that's it for me.
Make sure if you want to check out when Rob does go live on that, if you do that follow thing on Twitch, you get the email alerts, right? Whenever you go.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Hit the follow and you will get at least the live notifications. And then if you'd be so nice as to subscribe, I'd be very grateful.
We are grateful, as Daniel Bryan would say.
We are grateful.
We, of course, are grateful for you checking out this episode, for your likes and your shares. And if you do donate to the Patreon or something like that, anything you do is awesome. That makes you awesome. So thank you, awesome person, for listening. And we will see you next time with the WrestleMania 21 watch along coming up in 2 days. Adios for now, though, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.